Red Blue JD.
Half an hour? I don't know, half an hour. The third year students, I think, already know her because she helped with the organization and running of the workshop with the video settlement. And today she's presenting her final project for the bachelor degree. Michelle studied her bachelor at the Technical University of Munich in Germany, and she also spent 1 year studying in Brazil, in São Paulo, where she worked in informal settlements, so similar environments where we already did our workshop and also the topic of your studio. She's now finishing an internship, 3 months internship at ALSA, and she wants to pursue social architecture in her future studies and career. Today she will present the Cinematheque Berlin, I don't know how to pronounce it, but she will explain everything about it, which is the project for her final, for her thesis. I think that what's going to be very interesting for you is to see how other students approach design projects, which is normally not what we have in ACTO. But it must be interesting because it's her was in exactly your shoes, and also the way that she represented the drawings for the final year projects. The presentation is going to be 20-30 minutes, and then we have 20 minutes for questions and answers, so keep in mind any doubt or questions you have for the end. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Alice. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you guys for being here. So, as Alice said, I will present my final year project from the university in Munich. And this project took place in Berlin, which is the capital of Germany, and also the biggest city in Germany, and very kind of a cultural, well, maybe not the cultural capital, but there's a lot of, for example, cultural things going on. And one of the things that goes on there is that they host the Berlinale, which is a big film festival, a very internationally known film festival. And these guys approached the university because they want to create a Cinematheque, a house of film in Berlin. And what this means is, for them, was that there are several institutions related to film that wanted to create this building, which means, for one, the organizers of this Berlinale festival, there was supposed to be a museum, and also the Film University of Berlin. So, but I will explain later on a bit more about the program. But yeah, so we have the project is this like huge house of film, Cinematheque. So just to show you a little bit where it is, so we're in Berlin, and this little marked square is where the project took place. And this is really like central Berlin. It's a big city of has almost 4 million people, and also it's also a very historic city. Because and also this place, basically, because after the Second World War, the city of Berlin was split into two parts of the city, and there was literally a wall going through. And this wall was just there in front of our little plot. So you can see, this is the context. This was the neighboring building is this one, which is a Renaissance building, the Martin Gropius Bau, which is a kind of an art gallery, but also it hosts some events of this Berlinale festival. And as you can see, until 1989, there was the Berlin Wall just in front of this building, and where you can see the parking lot in front, that is where our project was supposed to be. So actually it looks, apart from you don't have the wall anymore, it looks kind of similar today. You still have the parking lot and you have a lot of trees. I would have liked to bring pictures, but to be honest, you could not see anything but trees there, and a parking lot. So, but this building for us was very important in our project, because it was this direct neighbor, and it was really about. One of the questions of the project was how do we put a building like next to this really dominant, this really this historic building, and how do you go close to him, to your neighbor? Do you give him like space? How do you do it? Can you do something higher than him? Can you not do that? So that was something that we wanted to interpret. And what you see on the right is the exhibition space in the middle of this building. So like I said, our building was also supposed to have exhibition space. So we looked at all of that, and we worked with a lot of references in this, like, well, all through the project, but especially in the first stage, to see, what we can do basically. So I want to show you just two references that we used because I think they were really important in the process. Obviously we had like a lot of references, but these were the two that we kind of kept going back to. One is this one. This is Exeter Library by Louis Kahn. And we really took a lot of inspiration from how the facade works and how you have this, I will explain later on as well. But just to show you, and also it also has this huge foyer in the middle, which is pretty interesting. And the other reference that was very important for our inner organization was the Turbine Hall of the Tate Modern in London, which is basically this huge hall that you go in, and in this case it also goes a bit down, and it's a very impressive space. So we kind of took some inspiration from that, from how this hall works, how you can handle the entrance situation of the building, how you can play with the light, and So what if So this is the concept basically of the project. So it's Filmhaus. Berlin means a house of film in German. And so our approach was, how do we deal with this neighbor, this super dominant guy, basically, this Martin Gropius Bau. And our concept was basically, okay, we can learn from him, and we will we play with how we can learn from him, how we can go close to him. And so in terms of the urban context, we basically took this volume that the Martin Gropius gave us, and we copied this volume, except you will see this side because there's a street, so we'll talk about that later as well. But yes, you can see that in terms of like the urban context, in terms of the volume and also of the facade, and also of the axis, we buddied up with this other building. So you can see it here, like in the plan. It was gray, but the little, really in the middle, the kind of grayish, purplish thing, that's our building. So you can see that we took like the axis that we had, and this other problem that we solved with that is as well, because our plot, so you can see, has this like triangle thing, which was also a problem, or not a problem, but it was a challenge, like how do we handle that? Do we put a triangle? Do we make like a front to that, or what do we do? So this is what we did, what we decided to do. We took the axis, we took the volume, we also took the height, so we really took the whole volume. And the only thing that happens is that the street kind of cuts our volume, so we had to react to that as well. And that is what it... I wonder if I should show actually the model first, please. Yeah. So yeah, that's what it looks like when you go close. So just keep going back and forth. So in the terms of then what we had to bring together is this urban context, and then also the inner organization, and how I showed you this huge hall that was inspiring us, that we had as a reference. We wanted to make that. It was given to us that we needed a foyer, and we said, okay, we want to make this huge hall, basically. And we put this huge hall in our building. And how did we do this? What you can see here is that we have this, basically what you have in the columns is the hall. And yeah, I don't know, can you? You can actually see some. Yeah, I think I will explain more later on as well. I'm actually thinking maybe I should show the model first, actually, because I think it'll be easier. It's a bit... Hello. You can see I don't use a Mac, so I don't know how to do it. So I will show you first maybe. So this is what it looks like from the outside. And then on the inside, yeah, okay, so we have the Martin Gropius, and this is our building, and you have a bit of the surroundings. And this is what it looks like our hall on the inside. So what we did basically is we took our building and we put this huge hall in it, and inside the hall we have this staircase, which one does the circulation of all the different the program that's inside the building. Actually, I didn't say what the program was, I think. So the program was you had a museum with exhibition space, you had office space. It was supposed to be also like kind of temporary exposition space that can be turned into office space. And there's studios for the film students, and there was a restaurant, cafe, and museum shop. So really a lot of different things. And for us it was like, okay, so we have this foyer with the staircase that will organize these different programs and will also help to bring it together, basically. So we have the staircase that has small platforms, as you can see, and which can be used as well to work. You have to work, to exhibit things, and so on. And you can see you have like small steps at the side, and then in the middle you have these bigger steps which are like to sit on. And you have the platforms in between. So that was the idea. And the other idea of this was also that, well, this was a house of film, right? And another thing that we had to do was put some auditoriums and to show movies, basically. And so we said, wouldn't it be really cool if we can turn the whole house into a cinema? So you can, because on the other side you can have a projection and you can sit here and everyone can come there, and the house and the hall itself is a cinema. So I will explain a bit more how this works. So in the can you see something? Kind of, right? Kind of. So on the first floor you have the entrance, and then you have the hall where the staircase begins, and you have the whole cinema part. So you have these different auditoriums. And I was talking about how we had to react to the street, right? Cutting our building. So what we did was, at this side we have another entrance, like a smaller entrance for just the cinema part, because that might work also at night when the museum is closed, when the offices are closed. And you have kind of this arcade that you can pass through, and that you can access the cinema part. So that is all of kind of organized in this part, and also because, as you will see in the section, we put it like in the floor a little bit, because the cinema part needs a lot of height, and we didn't want to go higher than our neighbor. So the neighbor was 23 meters, and we could not go on top of that. But at the same time, we needed actually to put a lot of stuff, and also the museum space had to be pretty high. And so we solved this a bit by really putting the cinema in the bottom and putting them slightly underground. Yeah. I'm really too stupid for this thing. There we go. Sorry. So you can see I left it in German, I'm very sorry. So you can see the other floors. You see each time in the middle you have the staircase, and then around you organize the different programs. So in this case again, we had the thing with the light was that, so all the office space is around the facade, because you need to have a lot of light in the office space. And then in the middle you have the studios on the first and second floor, so there's two. You have the studios that kind of get some indirect light from the hall, but they don't have a facade. And then you also have a small library which goes on 2 levels. And then on the 3rd floor and the 4th floor you have the exhibition space. So that's here on the right. And in this case, I mean, we also have, so in this one, you can see this is the 4th floor. It's also the exhibition space on the right. And on the left, you can see there's like a cafe and a small restaurant as well. And they have a terrace. The restaurant has a terrace. And yeah, and you can also see like the staircase in the middle. So you have this kind of gallery to the staircase, to the hallway around. So this. Yeah, I think you can see it in maybe in the section that this is our hall. This is also, you can kind of imagine the construction now with the grid. And so on this side, it's very, very light, but you can see that there's like the projection wall. And on the other side, you have the staircase that you can sit. And you can also see that the cinema part is like put into the ground. And how you have the different levels. So the first 2 floors are pretty, and the other floors are really high because the exhibition space, and they had to be at least like 6 meters high for exhibiting. I mean, what I can show you here as well is, so we have this, we put this grid underneath to organize, and you will see later in the facade as well, but basically we have 2 grids. We have one for the facade and for the outside, which is bigger, and then you have the small one in the hall, which is half of the big one basically, where the columns go up, and there where we have our cafe, and down and the ground floor you have the entrance for the cinema. You can see that the grid is kind of like going out. So you have this, it pushes out to the facade, because the idea was that, like, okay, you cut our volume, you cut our facade, so here you have the inside kind of coming to the outside. So yeah, you can see the hall. You can also see the hall from the outside because it's higher. So it's like this little lantern coming out. I'm really sad I don't have the model, because I think it's you can see a lot nicer. But Well, it's really orange. This is the facade that we came up with. So you can see the grid, no? The big grid and the small grid. And you can also see the lantern of the hall coming out. And you can see that we have, where the cinemas are, you have kind of, it's closed, because you don't need windows, right? So you have this kind of base. That was another thing that was important to us, was that we have this heavy volume. We want to give it like something at the bottom. We want to give it like a base to be on. And I will also show you how it's really inspired from this neighboring building again. But yeah, so it's a brick facade. And maybe we can show you best here. I cannot see that well, right? I mean, maybe it's... No, but I mean, can you see like the lines on the... It's too small, no? On the left building? Yeah. Yeah? Okay, so this is the Martin Gropius, and we tried to, like I said, we kind of copied, or we got inspired by him. So we tried to... You see, he has this base, and he has also these, how do you call that in English? Like the things that go around. So we took those. They are where our floor levels are. They are our ceilings, basically, that are on the outside. And you can also see that the proportion of the windows and the entrance are the same. Also like that, you know, that it has like a little bit more on the side than between the windows. So we really studied the proportion of this and tried to learn from it. Yeah, maybe here you can also see that we tried to do that. And we have these, like, we either had windows in these fields that the lines basically made. We either had windows or we had like blind windows that are like pushed back a bit, but they're not a window, they're just a brick facade. Yeah, you can see here, maybe again the model, which is the photos from here. But this is the model that we had, so that we could kind of open off the hall. And up there you can see how we were building it, up and up. And this is just like how the facade works. So it was a double layer, basically. We had inside the structural part, the ventilation layer, and then the brick facade, which was not structural. Yeah. I think I talked a lot. Maybe you have questions. I hope I explained more or less. Yeah, thank you.
Is this a construction detail? Maybe we cannot see it properly.
Yeah, I think it's not that, like, I mean, I can zoom in, but it's not...
Okay, well,
it's not,
you can tell a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can zoom like maybe like a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just a thing like, so it's just like the structural part, and then the insulation.
The concrete structure with the brick cladding.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so exactly, so it's just the darkest the structural part.
So the year of construction of the building beside, it's 1,400?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
So the project beside a very old historical building that is 600 years old.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, you know, when you design in context like that, you have to be very aware of the responsibility of the new design and how is that going to relate with the context. Do you have questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Also, as she said, it's a nice approach for managed to harmonize the historical building and design course. Most of the time it's become challenges mostly to students to adopt on modern design, and when you are designing in that context, it's a good approach how you manage to be in harmony with it. And go back on the plan with the context. Set plan. Set plan.
This one.
No. The
This
set
one.
plan. Yeah, you will
How do I
set
put it
plan.
back in the slide? I'm just checking for you. To make it big.
You want to have the
I want it to because I think
I think like the also the brightness.
you meant this page, right?
So it's like
The plan, your plan with the context.
This one?
Yeah, the plan. My question is there on the corridor with the trees. Yeah.
This,
Is the facade closed totally, or there is a connection between the building cost to look like there is somehow that corridor?
whether it's closed, the facade.
Yeah, the facade is closed or
On this, on the first floor and the ground floor, yes, it's closed except this part to the street that's like the diagonal. But like I said, we in the ground floor we have just the cinemas, the auditoriums, which have to be dark. They don't have windows, and which is the space that we wanted to have, and that also our historical neighbor also has the space that it is on. So yeah, on the ground floor it's completely closed, but then on the other levels it has openings.
yeah. On my opinion, I think another way you can connect maybe by visual connection your building to the next one, because if the building is historical building, I think can profit on it, so that
You mean you would like to have a visual connection to the historical building? Yeah, I think it was something that we also thought about, and I think it was something that we, well, like I said, I think you have on some of the
upper levels, but yeah, we decided also not to go that close to him. We decided to have some distance from him. But yeah, I understand that you would say you want to look at it. Another thing that about this guy that's interesting, I think, about this guy is you cannot really see that well, but basically you have this building was destroyed at some point, I think in the First World War, and then it was well, it was not completely destroyed, but it was then renovated, and basically the part, like the really beautiful part, right, with the frescoes and the stuff, like the really decorated, the really ornamented part, this is the front, and on the side, and then on the back, for example, and on one of the sides, they didn't do it anymore because it was too expensive. So they just kind of did the front facade. Yeah, exactly. That's why we decided also to have our entrance on the side, because it was also a thing of thinking maybe you can enter from the back actually, or maybe yeah, you want to create some room between the two buildings, like an outside space that you can use. But somehow we decided not to do it because we thought it didn't seem appropriate. We preferred to have these two buildings like really next to each other from the front. But yeah, definitely also an approach that you could use. Yeah. Yes?
I need to know more about how you ventilated the building.
How ventilated the building. I didn't think so much about it, to be honest.
I think, well, I mean, you have openings. But yeah, we didn't.
Because it looks more blocky, like so close.
So close. Well, I mean, the office space and this stuff, they have openings, they have windows, because that's obviously a part that is important there. But then on the exhibitions,
I can see that Cinematheque is a big building. Then I want to know if you have tried to organize the users playing the hierarchy of the spaces, whether maybe the users are in groups, children, adults, and that gives the hierarchy of spaces. Then I want, if you try to think about that.
How we try to organize
the user groups, you're asking. Well, yeah, I think there are different groups there because there's the museum, right? Then there's the office spaces, there's the film students as well, and there's the visitors of the cinema. Yeah, I think you can. We did try to organize a lot in the way that you can see that the museum is at the top, right? And also the restaurant with the terrace that's like at the top. And for us, it's a good thing to be at the top in this building, I think, or in the like. It's not it's in this kind of building. Sometimes it's nice to be at the top because you have maybe a view, and because we could benefit from the height that we could use. But I think in terms of hierarchy, we kind of put the offices and the studios together, you know, on the 2 floors. Like the students, we put, so the studios of the students and the offices, they were for us, they were something that you can join. So that's the left and the middle. So we put them on the same floor. But yeah, I think the idea was that the foyer, the hall, is the thing that brings everyone like kind of together. It can be used by everyone. We actually have like some secondary staircases as well, but more like for emergency and also so that maybe you can use the spaces separately. But we really wanted to think of it as like all the stuff organized around and like circulated by this big hall. Did I answer the question, Hammer, more or less?
I don't really understand the plan with the color, the dark gray of the 3rd floor.
That's the exhibition space. Yeah, maybe the plan's a bit confusing because this is the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then that's the 4th floor.
Because it was like the bigger one, like we made this one to more detail and more. Like our example floor was the top one.
What is the neighboring building? What material do you use? Concrete or brick?
What did they use? Different things. We had a lot of different buildings around, but they were all of kind of a bit further away, like across the streets. Yeah. Yeah, different things, concrete buildings, a lot of glass as well, office buildings. There was another kind of historic building a bit further away. Kind of, it's not in here, but here you have another from the same time as the Martin Gropius, which is Berlin Parliament. And this here you also have the Topography of Terror, which is a Holocaust Memorial site. Yeah, I think most of the other buildings were like more of office building. There was some high-rise building, like mainly pretty high-rise buildings.
Most buildings use concrete.
Yeah, a lot of concrete. Why did we decide to use the bricks in the middle of concrete? Well, we didn't think that the concrete was something that we should, that was like so predominant that we need to use concrete. I think one of the things is that we wanted this house to be, well, beautiful and inviting. And for us, the concrete was not something like, I mean, of course, you can also have leave the concrete, and it can be very beautiful, but I think it's not something that is necessarily, especially in such a big building, in such a big volume, something that is very, didn't seem like something warm and inviting, maybe. So maybe that's one of the reasons why we chose the brick. But I think also because we were interested in how to use the brick and how to use like the ornamentation of the brick, and because, like I said, we looked at Louis Kahn, for example, who does very beautiful things with brick and who does all these, I don't know if you can, like, okay, so the picture's not that good, but you can see that he has, for example, on top of the windows, right, he has the bricks like this, and he really, yeah, he does really nice things. So that was also something that inspired us, and that we thought was like maybe like more warm, more inviting than concrete.
Yes.
The way you took it in a context, so it doesn't escape the corners of the existing roads or any other building that are around. So my question comes to the accessibility around the building. Can back to the section.
What? The setting?
Section.
Oops, sorry.
The section, sorry. Section to section, yeah.
Yes. It seems the stairs are really one way, that it is like a strip taking to only one part across the building. How are the other parts are going to be accessed?
You mean how do you access?
The stairs
Yeah.
are in the middle, and also
Yeah.
they are seems that it's like one way,
Mm-hmm.
and taking the other part. These parts that are side, how are they going to be accessed?
You mean?
So, yeah, how, for example, you access this, right? Because it looks like, well, I think you can see in the other plans that, for example, here, I think what you saw there, for example, is the office here. So you see, you do access it. This is a mistake, by the way. This is not supposed to be red. So through the floor, you access this, and then we tried a long time to not have a corridor because we didn't like it. But in the end, for the office space, we didn't get around having a corridor to do the horizontal circulation. So in this case, you access the floor, but then you have the horizontal circulation here. And in the case of the upper floors, you have also not really corridor, you have more of a gallery that goes around the hall. So here you access the gallery basically, and then you can circulate around. You can go to the different exhibition spaces. Oop, that was too far away.
Basically, each step landing between the steps makes you access horizontally.
They showed there is a picture that they showed that.
Even in the model, you can see.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, yes, you can see. I think that here they have like galleries around on the top.
Yeah, and you show where you access from the landing.
Yeah, exactly. So here you access here on the floors, and then here always on this.
Yes.
I want to ask if you know the maximum number this can afford, and what about the car parks, because I found this building located in between other buildings.
The maximum number of people, you mean?
Yes.
You can go inside.
Yes.
Didn't calculate it. It has like 15,000 square meter. was the program, so really big. I don't remember how many office spaces were. So we had a program which was pretty big, but we didn't, since it's unfortunately we didn't get to like the really detailed like this, like, okay, so now what you need for maybe fire safety, like how many people can you really have, and like the really small details. I mean, it was one semester project, 2 people, and it's a 15,000 square meters, so it would have been interesting to go further and further, but in this case we didn't have the opportunity to do that.
And parking?
You're very central, you can use you're really close to the public transport.
Yeah, exactly. In the city center especially, you never go with your car. You always travel with public transport, bicycle, and yeah. Also because the traffic the areas are traffic limited. It's not that everyone can, and if you live there or if you work there, maybe you can access, but otherwise it's like pedestrian, let's say, or limited. And also when you park, it's very expensive, the parking. Yes?
We normally have the problem with the programs arrangement. So, what was what to guide you in arranging the program that way? Because you say that you put, I don't know why you put the exhibition on the 4th floor. Mm-hmm. And exhibition is, the place has to be, where everybody like to see easily, not going up to. So, I'm wondering why you arrange your programs that way.
I think it was several things that led to that decision. One was actually that was the problem of the heights, and that we wanted it to go together with the facade of the neighboring building. So actually there he gives us more height to do it. Then we also, so on the top you also have this gallery part, right? And this is the nicest actually to have on the top floor and to look down in the hall. We also wanted to combine the museum with the restaurant, and the restaurant was supposed to have a terrace, and the terrace needs to be on the roof. So there were several things, but I think one thing that maybe takes part in the context is that, I don't know, I feel like here there's sometimes the question of like the yeah, there's the question of the accessibility as well. Yeah, but so normally it's nice to be on the top floor. Like having the museum on the top floor, it's nice, but yeah, you have the problem of the accessibility. We do have elevators in a different part as well, so you can go. But I think that's yeah, definitely thing of the.
It's a bit like also Tate modern in London. The fact that you have this hall makes sense to push people also to use those stairs to go up and actually see the building through. It's like a promenade going up. If you would have just the exhibition at the ground floor, you wouldn't really experience the whole building. Okay, so that's, I think, it makes a lot of sense. Plus, it's true that you have to put partially underground the auditoriums for the cinema projection, which makes sense to have at the ground floor at the end, because if you have to put underground some services that don't need lateral light or natural air, then you don't have much other options.
But for them to be, to have this sense of being invited in that place, you have some like real something to arrange them there, like legend of the building.
Yeah. Well, probably this is not part of the building yet because it's not built, but for sure the idea when you go to visit a building like that and you pay the entrance to go to see the exhibition, they direct you where to go. But also this hall would be part of the exhibition somehow, no? To experience the building. That's something that it's missing in Rwanda, but it's very normal. to pay to visit architecture. You know, a nice building, experience of a building, you pay for it. You pay a ticket, you go to visit the building, and that promenade to go up and then see also the exhibition makes sense. It's consistent with this idea.
I have a question. You mentioned about the design approach based on the context, but I didn't see the design approach based on the concept.
Alright.
Would you like please to talk about the concept and how have you developed the concept for getting
The concept of the urban context.
I mean,
No, the building concept.
the building concept as in...
Back to the slide where you see the both of the plans.
You mean
Maybe the
this? Well, so the concept of the picture is that it's supposed to be a film poster. I think the concept was in a way also like, how you say, like, I'm missing the English word. Anyway, so I think the part that I explained was that part of the concept was to buddy up with this neighboring building, this historic building, to copy a bit from him and to like see what we can use for him. I think we put here the footprint of that building as well with the exhibition space. I mean, the thing is that while we tried to learn from him in some parts, of course, we didn't we weren't going to do like the exact same building, right? We didn't. So we tried to interpret some things that we found, but we also interpreted things that we found in other references, like the hall, like the Tate Modern Hall, and other things. So, yeah. The concept. What part of the concept? I don't.
For them, it's very difficult to understand the approach of the concept because here we have a really American imprint. So in American schools, normally you start with a concept design that is very abstract and you try to apply it to design. In this case, which is very typical of all European universities and which is also my background, instead you normally start from the context and you pick elements of the context that gives you the concept. Okay? So it's not abstract. That's why the concept here is very deeply related with the existing building on the side, the proportion of it, the height of it, the implant of it, and the relation to the urban environment. It's not something abstract. We normally like choose abstract concepts like porosity or like because that's how this university gave the curriculum of this university is based on a more very American.
I think the thing is also that this.
Well, first the projects are done in my school per chair, and this is a chair of urban architecture. So of course that was kind of the first thing that we did was look at the urban context.
Yeah, it depends a lot also on the professor.
Yeah.
The other
Professors said are more about the inner architecture, about other things, but in this time it was really about the urban context. And then we looked at the program in the second step. They didn't even give us the program until like the half of the semester. We were just talking about like somehow a foyer, like, and somehow a museum and some offices, and that was it. So, yeah.
Project, it's an advice from you. What can you, what advice can you give me? Because the way your presentation is like, it's organized and then you're very confident. And then sometimes, it's not, I'm not saying that I'm not confident. When you're behind here, you're so confident, but when you reach there in front, things change, you panic. So it's like, what tricks do you use to feel that confident while presenting?
Well, first, thank you that I seem confident, because I was also pretty nervous. And I mean, I think one advice I can give you is just keep practicing, because I mean that's also why it's awesome for me to be here. Apart from it's super interesting to present in front of you and have also see maybe your side on my project, is also that it's for me it's practice for presenting, and I think that's the only advice I can give. Like, keep practicing, take any chance you have to present that you get to present. And yeah, just, I don't know, take a deep breath. But yeah, I'm nervous as well. I'm hiding it really well, apparently.
Some of us, you don't know how to hide that number.
It's just invent words.
Yeah, I think it gets better the more often you do it.
I think it's just a matter of practicing. And also, I mean, I have the advantage that you're not my professors. This project is done, it has a grade. You're not going to tell me afterwards if it's good or bad or change everything. So that helps.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you, guys.
And through this week we had 2 public art talks, because last week we had to reschedule due to the FPR meeting. So it's this Wednesday that we are going to have
Red Blue JD.